Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching me from. Today is another day for another broadcast. All right. Starting a little bit early today, unless that is why I send out a notice that the broadcast is about to start. Hope I met every of you in good health. Today is Saturday, November the 4th. And today's program, as I've listed it in the previous week, is I'm going to be discussing ways to I'm going to be discussing ways to lower your insulin level. That is what I'm going to be discussing today. If you are struggling on how to lower your insulin level, this program is for you. This is what I'm going to be discussing today. And please do not forget to indicate where you're watching me from when you come to join live. All right. So we're going to be discussing ways to lower your insulin levels. There are different ways to lower your insulin levels. If you are struggling lowering your insulin or you're having insulin resistance, then there are certain things you should know why you're having insulin resistance, especially if you have diabetics or if you're obese. So that is why I'm going to give you guys some points on ways to manage your insulin levels. It is very important if you're diabetic, if you're obese, to know how to manage your insulin levels. These are part and parcel of living and managing with diabetics. Okay, so that is what I'm going to be discussing this morning. How do we lower our insulin levels? Or how do we reduce or manage our insulin levels? Okay, so we all know what insulin is all about. It's very important hormone in our systems. Insulin is very important hormone in our systems. And once that section of that organ of our body is destroyed or damaged, it affects, there's a chain reaction. It affects other organs functioning properly and thereby causing you to have diabetes. So insulin is very important hormone in our body systems. And once the organ that is handling it is damaged, there's an adverse effect in it that might cause you a health hazard. So this morning, we're going to understand the importance of hormone, the insulin in our system. So insulin, okay, uh, is an extreme important hormone that produces by your pancreas. It has many functions such as allowing your cells to take in sugar from your body, from your blood for energy. Okay, I've explained to you guys how your pancreas produces insulin and manage that. It helps you to, manage your blood sugar levels in your system. Once your pancreas is not producing enough insulin, there's an adverse effect in your health. So understanding the important role that insulin plays in your body system is very important. And that is why once your pancreas is functioning properly, then you don't have any problem of being a diabetes. But once your pancreas is damaged or completely damaged, then you have a chain reactions. Two things happen is that it's either your pancreas is not producing enough insulin that will help to manage your sugar level in your bloodstream, or your pancreas is not producing insulin at all. So there is no insulin that your pancreas can release into your bloodstream to manage your sugar levels in your bloodstream. So because your pancreas is not producing insulin or is completely damaged, then you have higher elevation of blood in your system. And once there's higher elevation of blood in your system, that is when you become diabetic. So insulin plays an important role in our body system because it's one of those hormones that are produced by your pancreas. It has many functions, such as allowing your cells to take in sugar from your bloodstreams and then convert them into energy. I've said it several times, okay? So you may be able to help reduce high insulin levels by making dietary changes and increasing your physical activities. Everything about diabetes is about managing your diet and then being active in physical activities. Watching what you eat, your lifestyle changes is very important. Even if you're not diabetic, you have to make sure that making dietary changes and increasing your physical activities will help you to avoid being diabetic. So don't wait till when you become diabetes, then you try to make all those dietary changes. That is why you've been advised to eat healthy and exercise. It's very important. And avoid obesity. Okay. So this morning, we're going to handle those ways how to manage. Please pardon me, I'm under the weather. So sometimes my voice is going to be going in and out because I'm still under the weather. I'm having some cold. So there'll be some coarseness in my voice. So try to bear with me for today. So that is what we have to understand by insulin. Okay, that is what we have to understand by insulin. So, however, living with chronically high levels of insulin, also known as hyperinsulinemia, okay, can lead to excessive weight gain and serious health problems like heart disease and cancer. So everything that has the advantage has disadvantage. Okay, that is why sometimes when they say yes, it is good to put a little bit of sugar in your tea. But when you are not abusing that sugar by taking excess sugar all the time, then there's a disadvantage for it. So everything that has good aspect of it has a bad aspect of it. So everything that is good can also kill. So, however, having too much of insulin in your system can have an adverse effect and can be detrimental to your health and even death. So despite that you need insulin in your body to control the sugar level in your bloodstreams, too much of insulin in your system can also have cost to your life. It's very dangerous to have excessive insulin levels in your blood. Okay. So, however, living with chronic high levels of insulin, also known as hyperinsulinemia, can lead to excessive weight gain, serious health problems like heart disease and cancer. All right. So, we all have to make sure that we don't have too much insulin in our system. It's very important to make sure you don't have too much insulin in your system. All right. So, while I'm going with this program, if you guys have any question, please feel free to ask question whilst I'm on this program. Feel free to ask any question that you might have. Okay. So, however, living with chronically high level of insulin, also known as hyperinsulinemia, can lead to excessive weight gain and serious health problems like heart disease and cancer. So we are flowing. So high blood insulin levels can also cause your cells to become resistant to the hormones effect. This condition known as insulin resistance leads to your pancreas to produce even more insulin. Okay, when your body is producing more insulin that your body doesn't know how to use, it's even a problem. That is why I said there are two functions why you are being diabetics. Okay, or why you are pre-diabetics. Because first of all, you have to be pre-diabetics. If you cut it in time, you can reverse it. There are two adverse effects while you are being diabetics. One is once you are being diabetics, there are two things that happens. It's either your pancreas is completely damaged or it's not completely damaged. And what happens? If your pancreas, there's a metal cells into those pancreas. Once they are damaged, it's either your pancreas is producing insulin. It's not producing enough insulin that your body needs to regulate the blood sugar, regulate the sugar level in your bloodstream. So your pancreas is not completely damaged. It's producing insulin, but the insulin that your pancreas is producing is not enough to regulate the sugar level in your bloodstream. So that is why you become diabetic. Or your pancreas is producing more insulin, more than your body needs to regulate the sugar level. So that's also a problem. So when your pancreas, your system is producing more insulin than your body required, it becomes excessive, and that can cause you another problem in your body. So now you are struggling to control your sugar level. Now your body is producing more enough insulin than your body required, and that's going to cause you more problem than what you have already. So that is why it is important to know how to manage your insulin levels, know how to decrease it. These are the certain things I'm going to discuss this morning, ways you can manage your insulin levels. It's very important to understand there are other ways to manage your insulin levels. So once you're diabetic, you have to deal with one problem that is facing you and not allow it to occur, another thing to add to it. So that is why when you are having too much insulin in your system, that can even cause you more problem because now your pancreas is producing more insulin that your body needs. Okay, that can cause you more heart problems. You're going to gain more weight and have more serious obesity and even lead you to have cancer. So that is why it's advisable to contain the diabetic section and allow it to overblown to other areas when your body is producing more enough insulin. So once you know that you have more enough insulin, there are other ways you can manage it to reduce the insulin levels that the body required in order effectively to manage your diabetics. Okay, so you have to understand that. So let's go to number one. Okay, what are the ways, okay, to manage your insulin levels? Lucy, you're welcome. Lucy from South Africa, you are welcome. So, what is the best way to manage your insulin levels? Okay, remember the topic of today's discussion is the ways to lower your insulin levels. I'm discussing what are the ways for you to lower your insulin levels. And the first point to lower your insulin level is follow a lower carb eating plan. I've discussed this in the past. Okay, if you're diabetic, you have to learn how to count your carbs in your meals. Learning how to count your carbs is very important. It's part and parcel of managing your diabetes. Okay, despite that, carbohydrate is part of our one of those nutrients that our body needs. But now that you are diabetic, you have to learn how to count your carbs. Do we need carbohydrate in our system? Yes. But the question now is that you, as a diabetic, you have to know how to count the carbs. How many carbs you can consume per meal, per day, in order to be within the range of managing your diabetes. Now, to lower your insulin levels, you have to follow a lower carb eating plan. Okay, you must eat lower, and that is why I've been re-emphasized several times. Eat lower carb, more fiber. You have to reduce your carb consumption to the minimum level and then more fiber. When you are not diabetics, okay, when you are healthy, you're not diabetics. You can eat as much as you want, carbohydrate as much as you want, because your pancreas is functioning properly and can regulate your sugar levels. But now that you become diabetics, you have to follow a lower carb eating system. So that means you have to reduce your carb intake to the minimum level and more fiber. So one of the three micronutrients is carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Remember, carbs raise blood sugar and insulin levels the most. So if you are already diabetics and you are still consuming a lot of carbohydrate, it's going to raise your blood sugar level very fast and also raise your insulin levels the most. So that is why the first thing you have to do in lowering your insulin levels is to reduce your carb intake. So follow a lower carb intake plan. So instead of you to eat a lot of food that have a lot of carbohydrate, now you have to reduce your carb intake and then increase your fiber intake. Because you now that you're diabetics, as soon as you eat food that are rich in carbohydrate, it's going to spike up your sugar level very fast and also increase your insulin levels very fast. So the most important thing you have to do is to lower your carb intake and more fiber intake. Okay? So it's very simple. So the first way to lower your insulin level is follow a lower carb eating plan. That means you have to learn how to count your carbs per meal per day. All right? Lower, eat food that has lower carb intake, or even if they are higher carb intake, eat it in minimal, in a smaller quantity, and a higher food with more fiber. Okay, so that is one. Now, even though carbs are an essential part of most balanced diet, okay, nutritious diet, lowering carb diet can be very effective for losing weight and managing your diabetes. As you're managing your diabetes very effectively, you're also managing your insulin levels. And that has to boil around reducing your carb intake. Yes, carbohydrate is part of our balanced diet. you must have carbohydrate in your daily meals because it provides you the energy that you need to engage in your physical activities for the day and also convert them into energy. But the question now remains is you have to reduce your carb intake and then increase your fiber intake. So number one is follow a lower carb eating plan. Okay. All right. You have to lower your carb eating plan, reduce your carb eating plan, and increase your fiber intake. That is one way to lower your insulin levels. Okay. Let me go back a little bit again. Number one point is follow a lower carb eating plan. Okay. One of the three macronutrients is carbohydrate, protein, and fat. Carbs raise blood sugar and insulin levels very fast. So once you are struggling to lower to lower your insulin levels, the first thing you have to do is to reduce your carb intake and increase your fiber intake. So that is one way to lower your insulin levels. And I've told you guys why it is very dangerous to have excess insulin levels in your blood system. You are having excess sugar in your blood system, you're having excess insulin at the same time. Those are very dangerous. You must make sure you contain it as soon as possible. And which one of the way is to follow a lower carb eating plan. When you are not diabetic, you can eat as many carbs as you want. But once you are diabetic now, you have to learn how to count your carbs per meal and per day. Okay. So even though carbs are an essential part of most balanced diets, nutritious diet, lower carb diet can be very effective for losing weight and managing your diabetes. That is one way. Okay. So let me go to the summary. Okay. While carbohydrates are typically an important part of balanced diet, lower carb diet have been shown to increase insulin sensitivity and reduce insulin levels in people living with obesity and metabolic syndrome. Okay, so yes, we agree that carbohydrate is part of our balanced diet daily. But once you lower your carb diet, okay, follow the carb lowering diet plan by eating less carb, more fiber. It has been shown to one is going to increase your insulin sensitivity. You are not going to be experiencing that insulin resistance. There are difference between insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity. So now you lower your carb intake. You are managing your carb diet very well by eating lower carb diet and increasing your fiber intake. It has been shown to increase your insulin sensitivity and reduce your insulin levels and people living with diabetes, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. So the first thing you have to do in managing your insulin levels is to learn how to reduce your carbs intake. Eat less of carb, more of fiber. So all those cassava meal, corn meal, semolina, yam, corn, you got to reduce them. You got to eat minimum. Make sure you reduce your consumption to those because those are rich in carbohydrate. Yes, we all agree that carbohydrate is one part of our balanced diet daily. We need carbohydrate daily. Our body needs carbohydrate daily in order to function properly and provide us the energy that we need. But now, once you become diabetics, you have to reduce the intake. Lowering carb intake is one way of lowering your insulin levels. And we all understand that too much insulin in our system or your body producing too much insulin in your system has an adverse effect, can cause you heart disease and even cancer. And that is why it is important, whilst you are managing your sugar level, also be very careful in your insulin levels. Do not allow your insulin level to be an additional problem to your diabetes problem. And that is why it is very important, okay, to follow your doctor's guideline. Let's go to number 2. Okay, let's go to number 2 ways of lowering your insulin level. Okay, number 2 is consider supplementing with apple cider vinegar. I've discussed with you guys importance of having apple cider vinegar in your diet. So consider supplementing with apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar may help prevent insulin and blood sugar spikes after eating, particularly when consumed with high carbohydrate food. I practice this daily. I have a lot of apple cider. I practice it daily, lemon and apple cider. These are anti-diabetic. They help to knock down the sugar level very fast. So once you consume a high food that are high in carbohydrate, Make sure you have apple cider with you immediately. Mix it with hot water and drink. It's going to help in lowering your sugar level and your insulin level. So consider supplemental apple cider vinegar. Okay, may help to prevent insulin and blood sugar spikes after eating, particularly when consumed with high carbohydrate food. Okay, it is very, very important. Okay, there's one review that found that consuming 2 to 6 teaspoons, about 10 to 30 milliliter of vinegar daily appears to improve glycemic response to carbohydrate-rich meals. Okay, there was one review or research that had been consulted that consuming 2 to 6 teaspoons, about 10 to 30 milliliter of vinegar daily, will help to improve your carbohydrate-rich meals. I practice. I have I don't miss apple cider vinegar in my collections because once I have food that are rich in carbohydrate, I quickly boil a whole water, mix it, and drink it. It helps to regulate the sugar levels in my body and knock down the spike of that sugar level very fast. So there's a balancing effect on it. So make sure you have apple cider vinegar, supplement it very well with your meals. Once you're eating food that are rich in carbohydrate, make sure you have apple cider vinegar in your meal. It's very important. And there is another review, another study that shows that consuming vinegar with meals affect blood glucose and insulin levels. So individuals consuming vinegar with meals had lower blood sugar and insulin levels. Okay, so it's very important you supplement apple cider vinegar when consuming or after your consumption of your meal, especially when you consume a high carbohydrate rich meal. Make sure you have your apple cider vinegar. This is going to help you to lower your insulin levels. So number one is, reduce your follow lower carb diet plan. That is eating lower carb diet foods. And number two is supplementing with apple cider vinegar. These two ways is going to help you to manage or lower your insulin levels. It is very important. Okay, these two ways is going to help you to lower your insulin levels. Now let me go to the summary. Vinegar may help ease blood sugar and insulin levels after meals, particularly when those meals are high in carbs. So what do I say? Anytime you eat a high food that are rich in carbohydrate, make sure you have vinegar with you. Supplement it. It's going to help to reduce the spike in your sugar level or your insulin levels. It has a balancing effect. It has a balancing effect in managing your insulin levels. Okay. Number three. Number three is keep an eye on portion size. I've discussed this in my previous videos on portion sizes. Okay. Number three is keep an eye on portion sizes. I've discussed it several times. Once you're diabetic, you are not going to be eating larger quantity of food at one go. You have to learn how to eat in portions. Eat a smaller portion first 4 hours. The next 4 hours, eat a smaller portion. The next 4 hours, eat a smaller portion. When you become diabetic, you have to make sure your portion sizes is very important. If you are still eating a higher portion food, then the number of carbohydrate in it is going to increase. That is why it's advisable to reduce your portion sizes. The smaller the portion sizes, the smaller the carbohydrate that is in it. Okay? Discuss it in several times. Keep an eye on your portion sizes. Okay? Your pancreas releases different amount of insulin depending on the type of food you eat. But eating a large amount of food that causes your body to produce extra insulin can eventually lead to hyperinsulinemia. Okay? I've said it several times in my video. Once you're diabetic, you have to keep an eye on your portion. When you're not diabetic, you can eat as many food as a larger quantity of food that you want because your body pancreas is still functioning properly and can regulate the sugar level in your bloodstream. But once you become diabetic, you have to keep an eye on your portion sizes. You have to eat in smaller portion, Every 4 hours, you take a smaller portion. Every 4 hours, you take a smaller portion. That is how you keep an eye on your portion size. Because the smaller the quantity of the food you eat for that first 4 hours, the smaller the carbohydrate and cannot have an effect in your sugar level in the sugar level in your blood. But when you eat a larger quantity of food, the number of carbohydrate in it is going to be the same as the size of the food. So it will have an adverse effect in your sugar level in your bloodstream. So that is why I keep re-emphasizing, keep an eye on your food size. Smaller portion is advisable for those living with obesity and diabetes or metabolic syndrome. Okay, smaller portion size is what is advisable as a diabetes. You must eat in a smaller quantity every 4 hours, but not in a larger quantity. Okay, so this is particular concern for people who are already living with obesity and insulin resistance. Okay, so keep an eye, uh, keep an eye on portion size. That is the number 3. Ways to lower your insulin levels. Keeping an eye on the portion size is very important. You have to learn how to eat in a smaller quantity. It is very important you learn how to eat in a smaller quantity. The smaller the food it is, the smaller the carbohydrate in it is. Okay? And that's not going to have an adverse effect in the sugar level or insulin levels in your food. Okay? Bear with me. I'm under the weather. My voice is coarse. So I believe when you guys have time to watch this video, you'll be able to understand. Okay? You'll be able to understand. I'm going to give you guys one more point, and I'm going to leave it for the day. I have to, because before my symptom return again, I tried to do this program this morning. Now that I'm a little bit okay, I've been having cold for the past week, so I'm trying to recover. I have a lot of cough, running nose. I have a cough, running nose, and headache, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. So I'm trying to do this program as fast as I can. So I'm going to give you guys one more point, and then I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to continue. I have 14 points, 14 ways to lower your insulin levels, but I'm going to give you guys 4 because I'm getting reaction. My this thing about to start now. So I'm going to get up, try to give you 4 points, and then maybe tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to finish the remaining 10. By tomorrow, I think I'm going to be a little bit better. So number 3 is keep an eye on your portion size. It's very important to eat in a smaller portion. Okay, to eat in a smaller portion. The smaller the size of your food, the better. Okay. Um, Pancreas release different amount of insulin depending on the type of food you eat, but eating a large amount of food that causes your body to produce extra insulin and eventually lead to hyperinsulinemia. In my last video, I did explain to you guys why I try to, whatever I'm saying, I try to paste it on the system because I have some fans that are deaf. They can't hear what I'm saying, but they can read. So they advise me to make sure whatever I'm saying, I should paste it on the system so they can read and understand what I'm saying. So that is why, as I'm talking, I'm also pasting it so they will be able to read. So I have some fans that are deaf, they can't hear, but they can read. So that is why I'm trying to put it on the system so they will be able to read and understand what, follow the program. And I do appreciate it that we have to accommodate everybody, regardless of your infirmities. All right. So that is it. So what is the summary? Let me go to the summary. Reducing calorie intake can help lower insulin levels in people living with excess weight or obesity who have type 2 diabetes or metabolic syndrome. So everything have to do reducing your calorie intake. The smaller the food you eat, the better. You have to keep an eye on your portion size. Eat in a smaller portion. It is very important to eat in a smaller portion. All right. Okay. Than eating in one large quantity. So let's go to the final point. Lower your intake of all forms of sugar. Okay. Lower your intake on all forms of sugar. Okay. This is very, very important. You know why you have diabetes. So if you are still diabetic and you're still consuming sugar, then good luck. All right. So once you have diabetes, you have to stay away from all forms of sugar. Okay. Because sugar may very well be the most important ingredient to keep an eye on if you are trying to lower your insulin levels. Diet high in added sugar associated with insulin resistance and may promote development of metabolic syndrome, obesity. Okay. So if you are diabetic and you are still taking sugar, then you're not doing yourself a favor. So you have to lower your intake of all forms of sugar or avoid sugar at all costs. Instead, use a substitute like uh, sweeteners. Okay, use substitute like sweeteners is very important. Okay, use substitute instead of being diabetic and you're still taking sugar. You are doing yourself no favor. Rather, you are doing yourself more harm. So sugar may be very well most important ingredient to keep an eye on in trying to lower your insulin levels. Diet high in added sugar are associated with insulin resistance and may promote development of metabolic uh, disease. And we know that diabetes is a metabolic disease. Okay, so what are the summary? A high intake of sugar in any form has been shown to increase insulin levels and promote insulin resistance if consumed for a length of time. So I would advise if you are still a diabetic, try to stay away from it as soon as possible. It is very important you stay away as soon as possible. Okay, so that is it, friends. I'm going to leave you guys now. As I said, I've been under the weather for a week now. I'm still recovering. I decided to come online since I have promised to be online today to do this program. I have up to 14 points to discuss with you. Tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to be back again to finish the remaining 10. Okay. Tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to be back to finish the remaining 10. So these 4 points, you guys can learn from these 4 points. Okay. One was follow a low carb diet plan. To supplement with apple cider vinegar. And 3, keep an eye on your portion sizes. And 4, lowering your intake of all forms of sugar. These are some of the ways you can manage or lower your insulin levels. Remember, insulin plays an important role in our system. Insulin plays an important role in our system. It helps to regulate your sugar levels, but too much insulin in your system can also have an adverse effect. So try to live according to your doctor's instructions and then take your medications and engage in a lot of physical activities and eat a balanced diet. So, friends, I'm going to leave you guys now. I have to go and check on myself. And tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to finish the remaining part 2 of it. So, today is going to be part 1. Tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to do the part 2 to finish the remaining 10 points. So, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow, Sunday. Stay blessed and goodbye. Thank you.